Good morning and welcome to all you lovely people to the Auckland Unitarian Church on this chilly autumn morning. After the service, please everyone stay and we'll have some tea, coffee, and lovely conversation. So today's service is brought to you by our third principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, and our fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The opening words are from Albert Einstein. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. He to whom the emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. The topic of spiritual intelligence is huge and fairly new in academia. This talk barely scratches the surface of the thought on the topic. Currently, academic and professional communities recognize three main kinds of intelligence. We all know about our cognitive intelligence, our IQ, emotional intelligence as well, called EQ, and spiritual intelligence, SQ. Many psychologists advocate the integration of spiritual intelligence with both our rational intelligence, or IQ, and the emotional intelligence, EQ. SQ helps blend cognitive and emotional intelligences. Essentially, SQ concerns recognizing and connecting with the deeper dimensions of human experience as individuals. I find it interesting that business researchers have greatly expanded the importance of spiritual intelligence and its application in commerce and government. Numerous business researchers and consultants think spiritual intelligence will address the multitude of unethical, even immoral business practices that we hear so much about these days. Leaders with strong SQ, spiritual intelligence, would go far to combat the corruption in governments and corporations that often seems rampant. As a business ethicist, that's a hard word, ethicist, and author of 27 books, Dana Zohar is in the vanguard of promoting spiritual intelligence for business leaders. I've adapted her traits of people with strong SQ, spiritual intelligence. So, living a life, first trait, living a life that comes from your values and visions. Acting from principles and deep beliefs. Valuing people for their differences, not despite them. Willingness to stand against the crowd because of strong convictions, and living authentically. Then little sense of ego, the sense of being a player in a larger drama. Humility. Next trait, self-awareness, especially of your values. And then living in the moment, spontaneity. Asking why questions in order to understand things and get to the bottom of them. Curiosity. Utilizing spiritual resources to solve problems in life. Positive use of adversity. Continued spiritual growth. A sense of personal progress and becoming. Learning skills to contribute to your own growth, to groups, and to improving the world. Finding inner peace and compassion. Feeling a call to serve, to give back, altruism. A strong sense of the bigger picture, ability to stand back and see larger patterns, relationships, and connections. Feeling absorbed in something greater than oneself. Transcendence. Making connections with oneself, with others, and with greater powers, and with the environment. Investing everyday activities, events, and relationships with a sense of the sacred or divine, a sense of magic or awe. You see any of these traits in yourself? Of course you do. I reckon everyone here has ticked at least a few of these ones off your list. So Zohar's traits are very practical, but they say nothing about deeper spirituality, the kind we often see in religious beliefs and religious leaders. Missing from Zohar's business-oriented list is intuition. No surprise that intuitive people tend to have higher spiritual intelligence than those who favor a hands-on approach to life. Also missing from the business-inspired list of spiritual intelligence traits is the idea that belief in something greater than ourselves requires intuition rather than identifiable evidence. Such belief doesn't come from analyzing patterns in experiences or requiring enough patterns to believe in a greater power. You'll never attain spiritual intelligence through numbers. Spiritual experiences, though, lead us to recognize when our spiritual intelligence is active. We light this candle this morning in a spirit of the curiosity that you've heard about, and concern for others, and in our sense of transcendence and awe that are an important part of our spirituality. So awesome aspects of spiritual intelligence simply concern awe. Experiencing awe can lead to a sense of transcendence, of connection with powerful, positive emotions that take us away from our usual consciousness. Awe can lead to magical thinking. Awe can even give us a sense of mystery and mysticism. Einstein's words from starting this service relate here. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. This brings us to consider art as spiritual experience. We have all experienced awe inspired by beautiful music and visual art like painting, drawing, sculpture, photography, architecture, literature, film, and performance art. Going to art museums and listening to music are ways to increase spiritual intelligence. Even more nourishing to your SQ is experiencing art with others and sharing your thoughts and feelings. According to psychologists, people who appreciate fairy tales and myths have good spiritual intelligence. Also included in psychologists' list of SQ traits is a tendency to superstition. I used to love it that one set of my grandparents used to make up superstitions for us kids. And when they wanted to get us out of the house and it was a dry summer, they'd say, if you go out and kill spiders, that'll make it rain. So go out and kill spiders. For most adults, appreciation of fairy tales, myths, and superstition definitely requires a suspension of needing identifiable evidence. Note, I didn't say spiritual intelligence requires belief in fairy tales, myths, or superstitions. Appreciating them does enhance your spiritual intelligence, however. Nature is an inexhaustible source of awesome experiences. I'm sure everyone here remembers spiritual experiences in nature. One of the highlights of my life was watching a 20-minute display of the Northern Lights while I was camping in a wilderness area on the border between Canada and the US, way up on a hill. 20 minutes of greens, blues, pinks, whites, spirits dancing in the sky, colorful spirits. Those moments come when you feel, moments of awe in nature come when you feel an emotional attachment to a particular place or empathize with an animal or plant. Being fully present when you're in nature enables you to turn more intimately into things like flowers, trees, bird calls. Who has never been awed by a beautiful sunset? The beauty in nature can take our breath away. Sometimes it even stuns us into silence and stillness. The powerful emotions from experiencing awe in nature cement the memory in our brains. That's just one way that being in nature increases your spiritual intelligence. You can't have spiritual intelligence without spiritual experiences. In this last part, let's consider the challenges and benefits that Unitarians have with spiritual intelligence. How does Unitarian Universalism benefit spiritual intelligence? UUism is a secular haven for people looking for the benefits of religion without suffering through the current religion's requirements that don't make sense to us or don't work for us. Our principles, up on the wall over there, strongly foster many aspects of current religion's requirements, aspects of spiritual intelligence. I started this service by mentioning principles 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, and 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. All 7 of our principles allude to traits of SQ and nourish them. Besides the 7 principles, we have 6 sources in our living tradition that underpin our religious philosophy. The first source is, quote, that transcendent mystery which moves us to the renewal of the spirit. This strongly refers to spiritual intelligence of the religious type. As the first source, it is the fundament for the other sources that express our basic values. Like the principles, they all imply SQ traits. I personally think the best thing that UUs offer those looking for the benefits of religion in a secular community. In his book, Religion for Atheists, the pop philosopher Alain de Botton has a chapter on community, a whole chapter on community. He posits that, quote, a secular church provides a venue where participants can find a group of people that they can trust because church implies good morals. That sounds like us, right? I see Unitarian Universalism's biggest challenge to fostering SQ is in our living tradition. Source number 5, the humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science. For the most part, science is concerned with the physical world. Scientists demand hard evidence, preferably measured in numbers, to accept their findings. Remember how I said you cannot attain spiritual intelligence through numbers? Okay, in my 36 years as a Unitarian, I have seen that Unitarian Universalism attracts quite a few scientists, as we've heard today. Many of them were or are atheists. Now, I do not imply that atheists have low spiritual intelligence at all. I have heard, however, some of the atheist scientists espouse reasons for atheism based on a lack of physical evidence for the existence of any greater power. You heard earlier that belief in something greater than ourselves requires intuition rather than identifiable evidence. Needing evidence that satisfies scientific criteria could easily impede good spiritual intelligence. To quote Einstein again, science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. So what are the takeaways from all this stuff about spiritual intelligence? Foremost, SQ is necessary for living well. Those with good SQ function better than those with low or even average spiritual intelligence. This is because spiritual intelligence integrates and mediates between cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence. The business world has embraced SQ as a strong trait for good leadership. Business ethicists have developed practical, secular traits of people with good SQ. However, we Unitarians are here because of an interest in religion, especially the benefits from regularly meeting with others in a trusted community. As fundamental statements of our values and purposes, our principles and our living tradition advantage us to grow in spiritual intelligence. Our value on a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, Principle 4, encourages us to at least appreciate awe and transcendence in our lives. May awe and transcendence be a regular part of your life. So, Paul, again, would you mind extinguishing the candles while I read the words for that? We extinguish this flame. Oh, we all say this together, don't we? Okay. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words come from Eric Walker Wickstrom. If you are who you were, and if the person next to you is who he or she was, if none of us has changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, zendo, mosque, is to help its people grow. So may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but who you could be. So may we all. And thank you for your forbearance.